the Sunday after my mother's death. My father, my brother, Bill, our children and I went to my parents' church. The congregation sang "Bring Many Names." And as we sang, tears flowed down my cheeks. At that time of tenderness and loss, the names and the attributes that we were singing about God were ones that I was feeling for my family. I cried for my mother, who was strong and had seemed to always be working night and day. My tears were for my father. That Sunday was his first Sunday ever to go to church without my mother. And Dad had experienced the strains of human living. His own mother had died tragically when he was a child. He was out on his own when he was a teenager. He was in the Army in World War II, and he experienced the horrors of war. When I was a child, he was sick and hospitalized for 2 years. No bitterness accompanied his hardship. Dad was warm, playful, loving, caring, and quick to forgive. That day after Mother's death, Dad seemed old. But with great reservoirs of strength, he was calm, wiser than despair. And singing by my side in that congregation were our young, growing up children who were eager to learn, easily delighted. I cried tears of gratitude for family and for that deep longing that humans have for home. The last verse of "Bring Many Names" sings of God as great, larger than our knowing, a living, changing entity, as joyful darkness far beyond our seeing, yet closer than our breathing, our everlasting home. That deep place of knowing and loving that connects us with all that is good and admirable. Throughout history, humans have imagined God in our own images. In order to explain creation, humans imagined a creator. To understand life's battles, sorrows, and regrets, humans told stories of jealous and angry deities. When I was a child, the image of a loving Father God was comforting and helped me to feel safe and cared for. As a kid, I used to love swinging under the weeping willow tree in our backyard, and when I closed my eyes, I felt connected with all that is. So in junior high school, when I read the words of the poet Edna St. Vincent Millay about moving 2 blades of grass apart and putting my finger on God's heart, I felt I knew just what she meant. And poets like Wordsworth and Whitman sang to me, and I found God in nature. When I was a youth and young adult, and when I became a Peace Corps volunteer, the image of Jesus as a child of God, a young activist and radical, challenging the status quo, leaving his family, wandering around with few possessions, and meeting strangers as friends, was compelling and supported my own choices. Later, as a pregnant woman and nursing mother, I joined a women's circle where we studied the goddess and created our own rituals and shared our stories. But if I didn't like the image of an old white man in the sky, I didn't think I wanted to replace it with a wise mother in the earth. So I decided I just didn't want to use the word God at all. Then one day, come with a hammer. And you're right, yes, I called out, God! And my children were there in the room, and I thought, oh, I don't want to teach our children, Sarah and Ben, that God is just a curse word. God is this word that we humans have created to get at this something that is great, something larger than our knowing, a living, changing entity, that hard-to-name something that's beyond our understanding, yet as close as our own breathing, the nearest, deepest, dearest part of ourselves. If I get too involved in what to call it, or what not to call it, I can miss the experience of it. And experiencing, even if just in moments and glimpses, experiencing this depth, this connection, is what I live for. At the time of hitting my thumb, I was also teaching public high school English classes, and I was asked by our department chair to teach Bible as literature. I guess it was the word literature in the title that got the attention of the students who were fundamentalist Christians. They were suspicious that I was teaching the Bible not as literal truth, but as fictional literature. Bible, in the title, brought out the fundamentalist atheists who were worried that I was sneaking Christianity into the curriculum. I agreed to teach Bible as literature because I love a good story. Stories are how I learn about life, and good stories are often told in beautiful language, poetry, and metaphor. Bill and I have a colleague friend who tells of his friendship with an Episcopalian priest. Our friend was interested in ministry, and he told Father Jim, I think ministry is interesting, but I don't believe the theology. Father Jim said, oh, I don't either. But human beings, they live by symbols and metaphors, rituals and poetry. Metaphors, ritual, and poetry touch my deepest longing. Today, this day, right now, when life seems so precious and fleeting, I'm drawn to those last words of the song Bring Many Names. God as everlasting